Thank you for staying on Joy News Desk with me, Menace. The discourse on ending the galamsey menace in the country continues, and this morning Joy FM Thought Leadership program is currently underway at the Swiss Spirit Elisa Hotel here in Accra to carry on the debate on the need to end the unhealthy practice. Now let's go live to the event to give you some heads up on what's new in the fight against galamsey.
Something like that. Just to see the indicators, to see if you have the potential for a mineral there. So it's a very complex process. Before you see one license that goes up, it would have gone through all these processes. So once you get that, you are not supposed to do anything apart from what you've been given the license for. And we have our people who should be following up. And I know where this thing has been coming from. So we do that. Now, because they are within our range, our people follow. There are instances where those who haven't followed the tenets of the license have been punished. Either the license have been taken or they've been sanctioned and appropriate sanction given. There are those who, and we have reported that before. For instance, the prospecting license. As for prospecting license, you have the right to do drilling. You can do some level of, even trenching. You can do some level of sampling. This you can do. But we also picked up later on that some get these licenses, and then, unknown to us, they parcel that out. And then they come and complain that there are some galamsey people on the land. You see, it was only later through our investigations that we realized that some of them have actually given the lands illegally, and we have had to take the licenses. We have had to advise the minister to take the licenses. For instance, Westar, and there are several of them. So these people do consciously. They commit the illegality consciously, but when it is within our remit, we have to handle that. But if the person goes out of our remit,
Thank you for staying here on Joy News Desk with me, Menace. Let's take you back to the Swiss Spirit Elisa Hotel, where there's a discourse on ending the galamsey menace in this country, and it's brought to you by Joy FM's Thought Leadership program.
Where they are sitting, we start dealing with them. For us, the media, another angle of this to go is also to start going at the businesses that have benefited out of this. The amount of money we are talking about is not chicken feed. It's in billions. So which are the banks who've also been benefiting from this? Which organizations have been exporting these heavy-duty mass equipment? The name, what I wanted
equipment of mass destruction.
Exactly. That's what it is. Which are the countries who have been bringing that in? Which countries, which companies have been exporting mercury into Ghana? All of these, we should start serving them one day. You need to start stopping this. Otherwise, you're also complicit in the self-poisoning of Ghana.
But talking about mercury as well, we've signed the Minamata Protocol. What's stopping us from ratifying it? Okay.
Yeah, Ghana has ratified the convention.
We have.
Yeah, we are the 40th.
So, but mercury is still available as.
The convention has not
pure water is
the convention has not come into force because we need 50 countries to ratify it, and we so far have 43. So it's left with 7 countries.
Does that stop us from being proactive?
But we are working. We are working. The initial mercury initial assessment has been done.
Okay.
The national action plan is being drawn. We had our first engagement within the sector with all the stakeholders in Aliza here. I think some 3-4 weeks back. And we are working towards, I think the convention secretariat is working towards the conference of parties, maybe within getting to the close of September, when we would have gotten at least the 50 countries ratifying it. And also, let me put it this way. The University of Mines and Technology has come up with a process that we use to get a gold without using the mercury. So we are working seriously to make sure that when the thing comes into force, we are already on track.
But you see, my concern is this, that we're waiting for the mass ratification so we can enforce it. But it is a present danger to us today. So as a sovereign state, why have we still allowed mercury to be freely available and not a controlled substance?
It's controlled.
Really?
Yeah, because
it's
you
not
cannot just
difficult to buy it.
Yeah, some of it comes through the illegal routes, but through the Ministry of Trade. I mean, they know the volumes that come in, but majority of it come through the illegal routes. You know, most of these traders who go to Togo, I will tell you how they do. Some of them rather send gold to Togo, and then they buy some of the things that they are getting. And then in coming back, they get mercury and come back. So some of the mercury comes through the unapproved routes. But what is coming through the Ministry of Trade, through the customs, I mean, that one is controlled. And so as an agency that is leading this convention, we working even way before, even before Ghana signed it. We started working towards to eliminate the use of mercury. Because in 2001, a study that was done with UNIDO in Wasa Japan and Wasa and Dumasi, which are small-scale mining areas, an indication was that the high levels of mercury in the nails, in blood, in hair, and not only human beings. And this was for those who were doing mining and non-mining persons. And then also vegetation, fishes within those riverine systems were highly polluted with mercury. And so we at the higher echelon of the food chain are the people that will suffer, because we don't know where the fishes are coming from. And as you take it, it bioaccumulates in you. And unlike cyanide that will kill you instantaneously, this one takes a long time to accumulate, and then you have the effects.
Interesting. Dr. Orban, you wanted to add something to that.
I was going to say that as a country, we have a law that allows for the importation of mercury for this purpose. So that's probably the challenge. The Mercury Act has not been repealed. So that's probably one of the areas that needs to be looked at. But with the coming into force eventually of the Minamata Convention, perhaps that if we implement that assiduously as we are expected to, then we probably could take this issue of mercury out. But for now, the law allows for mercury to be imported. In fact, that law was passed before small-scale mining law was even passed. You know, and as you would know, until 1989, any small-scale mining was illegal.
Yes.
As a country. So the Mercury Act, the passage of the Mercury Act, actually, brought the issue of small-scale mining into being.
You know, while we're on the framework, the legal framework and regulation, Dr. Orban, I'd like you to take this one. There's a concern that part of the challenge we have today is the carving out of the Minerals Commission out of the Geological Services, and that the two working together would actually be a stronger force to ensure, for example, that reclamation was done well, and you would have provided better monitoring. What's your take on that thinking?
No, as for the Geological Survey, they are a different entity. They could work better together anyway, but we do work together. We are under the same ministry.
But apparently they are more emaciated because they don't collect fees. You do. And so they're not able to do a lot.
No, but there's a sharing system that gives them some part, and the kind of work they do complement. And they do work beyond mining. They are supposed to do hydrology. They are supposed to do some work for even oil and all that. So that's a different area. But we work together, especially because we are under the same roof. But I've heard our minister mention this before, and that's really consistent with my thoughts, that in some institutions, and in some countries, for instance, when you go to Australia, the Minerals Commission equivalent is a real one-stop shop. So, for instance, if you have the issues between the Commission and the EPA, because they are within the same premises, they are able to deal with that instantly. I mean, we're not saying that EPA must be part of Minerals Commission, but the mining section of the EPA could have been better placed with the Commission. It will still be EPA, but it will be working direct, because all they do is about mining. The mining department works only with mining. So that is one area that maybe could be looked at in terms of, getting the signages working better. So I don't think we have problems with the authority. Now it's an authority, the Geological Survey Authority.
Yeah. That's right. Okay, thanks very much. Mr. Amewu, you mentioned, and from the sample letter that Dr. Obing went through, the Upper Denture, was it the Infantima area, in the Upper Denture area, there were 45 locals and 3 foreigners. This business with foreigners and the Chinese and our concern, is it a case that we are more the cause rather than looking outside? We probably should be looking in. And how do they end up in the country without the valid visas and the right to work?
Well, thank you. Yes, of course, I agree that the authorities that are responsible for entry and exit of some of these internationals, most often the internationals on their own do not enter concessions without any directions. And so there are Ghanaians that, of course, will have to lead them to various places. But again, it's important, and also for the Commission and Ghanaian as a whole, to note that if you say illegality of mining, it has nothing to do with licensing. I mean, as my Tony said earlier on, we are looking at the illegality or the illicit mining, as the method that's been applied. Like he rightly put it, if you mine in the rivers, it's not allowed. If you mine close to 100 meters away from the river, if you mine in an area that's degraded without the necessary reclamation, and on top, finally, maybe if you're mining without license. Why? Because this degradation that we're seeing about, 99.6% are people who are given the license, are people who the Minerals Commission has recommended to the minister to issue permit. 99.9% of these degradations are people who have the licenses. And so the illicit mining has nothing to do with license. People have licenses and they are doing the mining in the wrong way. So that is what we're talking about.
It is said that people will do what you inspect and not what you expect.
Yeah,
so
because you see,
is there?
No. I'll come back to that, because you see, when the district chief executive wrote back to the commission asking, give us the name of the people, best known to the district chief executive, that person might have probably been licensed. But in another perspective, the commission might also not have licensed that person. But in few cases, in most of the cases and the areas that we went to, they were licensed by the minister through recommendations from the Minerals Commission. So I am talking about the approach that is adopted, the methodology. Now, as Ghanaians, how do we all of a sudden open up, our doors to these external forces, to degrade the environment to the extent in which we are witnessing today? Small-scale mining has been going on, for the country for a long time. But again, the use and the applications of the earth-moving equipment, the heavy-moving equipment, and the services that is being provided. Most of these Chinese that are assisting our Ghanaian counterpart, they tells you that, well, of course, we are providing mining services. And so the small-scale miner who has the concession is a different person. He's a Ghanaian, and he wants somebody to provide services. So he went maybe to a Chinese person for that person to provide the services. So it's the application of the equipment that originally was not envisaged to be used in a small-scale mining. And that is also a problem. And that is why the recent suggestion from the Minerals Commission that let us begin to look at how we can broaden the conception space in terms of bringing in a middle approach, a small-scale, middle, or whatever they may call it, where those services will be allowed, where Ghanaians will be allowed to operate, where external people will be allowed to engage with the Ghanaians counterpart, with Ghanaians having certain proportion in terms of participation. Maybe it's something we should also be looking at. I agree also precisely that the supervision role from both the EPA and the minerals commissions, and their working environment need to be looked at. We have made this suggestion over and over again, and I think as a country and as a commission and the ministry, I have to speak to my counterpart minister to see how the environmental department can have a desk, at the office of the Minerals Commission. It's done all across, so that you don't necessarily have to go to the Minerals Commissions, come back to the EPA, go here, and all this, cause problems. So if there's that understanding, they are working under the same roof, but their method of acceptance and approval, it's in accordance with their mother organization, that can also speed up some of these processes and help us to avoid some of the occurrences that we are witnessing.
Well, streamlining that environment, and I mean the regulatory environment, is a critical thing. But beyond that, all the examples you've heard, and Dr. Orban as well as Mr. Sando talked about the fact that the people who are on the ground don't have the firepower that they have to encounter, or they do encounter when they go out there, because these people are growing, with impunity, and they have arms. What is the law enforcement angle to all of this? The Ministry of Interior, as well as the National Security Coordinator, is copied in all of these letters. Why are we not seeing the law bite through the enforcement arm?
Well, I'm not surprised about this. As a country, where we're coming from and what country Ghana is. Very good in passing good laws. And that is the end. Sit down and bring out laws. We are very weak in implementing the law. So it is the implementing agencies. I agree that when an illegality is happening and the police goes in to do the arrest, and maybe that is the end. I have a discussion and engaged the IGP. I even spoke with the IGP yesterday. Maybe he'll be hearing me. I made him understand clearly that in all these 9 mining districts that we've identified, something needs to happen. And I hope it's going to happen quite soon. So the enforcement with these agencies is very key. If the agencies are coming behind the commission, to show that there's some activity in terms of enforcement going on, that can also send signal that we are very sure and serious about what we're doing. And that's why I'm most grateful to the Justice Ministry for coming out with this 14 or 13, special courts. We expect the court to work, and maybe we're looking at the best to happen very soon. These are good indications to send signals that as a country, we should be moving somewhere. I heard today on the radio when I was driving down here, Joy FM, Raymond mentioning some areas that there were even police and military people. I mean, this is surprising. How can the military people be protecting an illegality?
This is close to the
and this is from a research he said he has gotten out confidential. So it means that as a country, there is something wrong. The same people we are driving away, the same military is protecting them. Where are we as a country? These are issues, but I think this is the right time. This is a president that is saying, no, you can talk about your elections. The importance of Ghanaians is key to my life and for the benefit of the yet unborn. So this is a president that has given us a leadership and a support. And I think that if we all support, Nana Akufo-Addo for his, understanding about the environment, we will have a Ghana to be a better place to live in.
We hope so. And here's what I'd like us to do here on. Let's start looking at some solutions. Let's walk away from here with a minimum of a 5-point plan. You're out touring these places. There seemed to be some sanity, but it looks like what happened in 2012, 2013, when the interministerial task force was set up. The people withdrew. The project was not sustained. They went back. It seems that they have the patience to wait you out. How are we going to make this sustainable?
Well, the ministry has a plan, and government, we have a plan. The first phase is what we are seeing now to sanitize the whole system. And that is going to take us to about 6 months, and above. I've given them 30 days, to move out this equipment, because what we have realized from the site is that some of these equipment owners, are different from those who own the concession. So I have had meetings with some of the people who own the equipment and asked them that for their equipment not to be destroyed, they should begin to evacuate the equipment. And we've seen some of the equipment also being taken out from the site. We're going to deploy a combined team of the military, the police, the Air Force, the Army, the Navy, within these 30 days that I'm talking about. And this is, again, to let them understand that the forces are coming on very soon and very quick. And so as we count down to the 30 days, it's important they quicken their action. So the forces will come. And so when these forces come, they are going to stay for up to the 6 months that we're talking about. But it's going to be a long and sustainable period. It takes us to far above 1 year. Now, after the 6 months, the ministry, in collaborations with the commissions, has come out with what we call the MMIP, Multilateral Mining Integration Project. This project, it's going to work on 3 pillars, the law, which is there, enforcement of that law, which we're going to be very key about. If you are a law enforcement agency and you refuse to help address the law, of course, somebody will have to do it for you. That's number 2. Number 3 has to do with technology. And so technology, it's going to be well intensified within this period. What technology is going to do is the applications of the drone and tracking of the devices. We're going to identify who the owners of this equipment are. My deputy is already working on the regulations to make sure that if you have a concession going forward, that concession owner will be looked at differently from who or what the equipment is. So just as the concession owner will be given a permit or an authorization to mine, the equipment will be looked at as a different entity, and that equipment will also be given a permit. So that equipment will therefore be tracked. And the tracking devices will enable us to know that equipment A is being allowed to mine in concession B, but has been found working in concession C. If that happens, your equipment, of course, automatically and immediately will be, arrested. We will therefore come out and re-engage all those people that you see we're trying to drive them away from the various sites. Some of them will be forming an association. The Minerals Commission already has given out, some acreages of land for, how do you call it, Tony? Exploration activities, and this, they are doing it from their own resources. These exploration activities that the Minerals Commission is undertaking, those acreages of land will be made available for these Ghanaians that want to take mining. One thing we have realized is that the digging that you see on the earth surfaces all over is because people try to look for the gold. As I keep on saying, Matra and Makwe. They dig here and try to dig this place and look for the other place. They have not done any explorations, if you listen to the CEO of the Minerals Commission. So they just take the excavator, try to look at the gold and attempt, they keep on degrading the environment. So this time around, we will do some level of exploration and make sure that the area is prospective, and those prospective areas will be solely, allocated to the small-scale miners. We're also going forward to identify central processing plant, where we can put some of these processing plants as strategic places for them. The AGA in Obuasi have relinquished almost 60% of their concessions. We are talking to some of the, large-scale companies who own concessions again, but for purpose of speculative drive, holding on those concessions to see how they can relinquish some of these concessions. So there's a huge and elaborate plan to address this mining, difficulty that we have in the country. And these are some of the things that we'll be doing going forward.
All right, we're in the phase where we are looking for answers. So we're going to invite you, the audience, to share some of the ideas that you have on fixing this problem with us. But I'm going to come to you, Ken. What are your thoughts on the stuff that the list of actions that the ministry is undertaking, and how can we better make those long-lasting?
Well, thank you. I think one of the things that we would ask of the minister is to get this plan so that we know what the specifics are, to see who is doing what, at what time is the person doing it, so as the media, we would also be able to follow it. for me, one of the things that, and the minister alluded to that, the fact that we bring nice laws, nice legislations in place, but then we don't enforce it. So we need, apart from the people who've been employed, we also need another level, which is generally getting the citizenry also being able to police these things that would be happening. So one of the key things that I think should work this time is a lot more transparency, so that we all can see what is happening. It would be very important to be able to make these tracking that I should be able to go onto the website and be able to find which equipment is working within my village. Yesterday at CSI, a story was told of a district chief executive who saw some people mining his house. And he said that people had come to say that, his house was within their concession. So when these things are happening and we don't let the locals also know. Remember that Dr. Tonobi talked about publication.
That's right.
I don't know whether any of you have heard on any radio station any of these publications. Because you give the thing to the district chief executive, one man who can easily be bought. So they then will write back to the district chief. Nothing has been seen. I think the regulation now should require them to be able to publish it in a national newspaper and local radio stations that are there. And they should, as part of their stakeholder engagement, they should have shown evidence that particular chiefs or particular people have actually signed, so that this would all be evidence, and they should be made available on a website, so that if, for me, as a media person, I should be able to go and verify that. We are praying that the commitment that was given by the minister that will pass the right to information will be done, so that we can start asking some of these tough questions. But critically for me in all of this, we need to start ensuring that mining is beneficial to the Ghanaian. And I think that question has to be asked. When you do the total cost and the total benefit, I'm not too sure we've really done that. Whether mining actually, as we're doing it now, is beneficial to us. Whether it's not really going to cost us. So that we need to start having that question answered. Then secondly also is the fact that we need to start pushing to a point where Ghanaians are at the height of sustainable mining. So I'm hoping that with this exploration that is going to be done by the EPA, we would start asking various districts to form cooperatives, maybe around in the district area, so that that if they go into this area that has been given to this particular district, where the EPA or the government now has decided that, okay, we've provided engineering services and prospecting has been done there, we also put in place the companies that are going to provide mining services within the concession. We have the right technologies that they are going to use. We ensure that the buying companies are also within there, because a lot of our gold is going out, is being smuggled out. We are not getting the taxes, we are not getting the royalties, they are not posting any bonds. So we make sure that within the, when we buy it, part of the money goes into reclamation, part of the money goes to pay the EPA for what they spend in exploration, part of the money goes into the communities. And we should also start pushing to the extent that the monies will stay within the community, so that we don't have the Johannesburg and Obuasi dichotomy. And critically for me, when all of this plan is put in place, and we think that we require money to be able to do that, let's not go looking for foreign investors. Let's put that on the local on the Ghana Stock Exchange, so that we can raise the money from Ghana to do this. Then when it happens, the profit will stay in Ghana. So then that's the example of Johannesburg. All the money that was used in doing the mining in Johannesburg came from the exchange. So the money stayed there. But what we have done, we've mined all this while. Show me one billionaire that we've produced out of gold. Zilch. We have not done that. So I'm hoping that as we do all of this, and we've heard the minister talk about the plan should have the Ghanaians at the center of it. If the foreigners are coming, they should just come in for a short term to just come and help us do it. But we have the capacity, we have the men and the resources to do it. And most of the time we talk about capacity, local capacity. Stock exchange. Making sure that we can make our stock exchange big, and making sure that Ghanaians can be rich, so that if they themselves know that they the gold that is dark from there, then they will prevent the people who are doing it. And now we even hear that diplomatic patches are used in smuggling our gold out.
Wow, interesting stuff. Let me bring in the National Administrator of the Ghana Association of Sports.
Ken just spoke, and a lot of the things he said seem to run parallel to what the Minister and the Minerals Commission seem to have. If we can have stakeholder engagement, you will see that we'll be able to fuse all these together and come out with a workable plan. They talked about, for example, they talked about some mining districts like Dunkwao, like Prestia, beginning to strike those who are working on the river bodies. And I'm telling you, from the report I received, you strike them from here, they move away. They go to a remote part. They can walk there. When you drive your V8 or your pickup, you have to stop and walk for about 3-4 kilometers. How many people can do that? So, but when we have a collaborative effort of all the stakeholders, we'll be able to deal with this. So the association is not happy of Galamsey. The association was the first to start speaking against Galamsey some 3 to 5 years ago. Why? Because we are looking at our concern, the rate at which the land was being degraded. Some of them do not even have access to the gold, but they degrade the land. When the place comes to be mined, you cannot put your excavator there because the place is already destroyed. And so the idea that, and I think the minister mentioned it in passing, the idea that 99.6% of those who are degrading the land are those who hold license, I think that should be really looked at. When you demonize the legal miners, then you cannot use them. And I'm telling you, our people...
Are you disputing that number?
Without any shade of doubt. What's the number? Well, I want to see the research that came out with that number. Why? Because there are more illegal miners than legal miners. And I don't know where that figure is coming from.
But you do accept...
I don't think...
Do you accept Dr. Auburn's submission that the people who are giving... for example, I think it was the prospecting license, and then they break it up, and then they sell it to other people, and then turn around and complain that they're illegal miners on their land?
That's correct. And in fact, the association made complaints to the commission, and even one...
How many of your members who have done that have you dragged before the commission for prosecution?
Exactly why I said that there must be stakeholder engagement. Because what...
you don't need stakeholders to point out those who are breaking the law.
Let me correct you. What Dr. Aubin said was with regard to the large-scale mining, not small-scale. Small-scale miners are not given prospective license. That is why I say that. That is why I say that. That's why I said that there must be stakeholder consultation so that we all come onto the same page. What he spoke about had to do with the large-scale mine. Small-scale miners are not given prospective license. You are giving the license straight to mine. You see, so you see that there are gaps in our understanding if we are not all on the same table.
So for you, the critical point on which we can go forward is that we should have a very strong stakeholder engagement. All right, let me bring in Mr. Seth Quay.
I just want to make a little comment on the use of cyanide and
mercury.
Mercury, yeah. When we heard of this Minamata Convention long ago, we didn't want our people to be disadvantaged. So we signed an MOU with the UMAT to start training us, not just on the use of cyanide, because we realized that a lot of our people lacked the proper understanding of what to do when they get to the land. And so they don't use the land in an efficient manner. And so from that training, somebody mentioned that you can even get the gold without the use of mercury. Our people have already been trained in this. In fact, we have that first stage of the training. So you see, the engagement is very important. If we are at the same table, these things will be coming out to the relevant people, and it inform the policies that will come out, and that can be implemented.
Was your association engaged by the ministry in developing the MMIP?
No.
You weren't?
The last time we met him, we asked him about the MMIP. If there's a document we can look at, we don't have it.
And that hasn't happened. All right. We'll get his response. Now, Mr. Seth Quay is with Occupy Ghana, a civil society organization, who have been campaigning along with everyone else. What would you like to say to us?
Just two things. Before, I just want to comment a little bit on what he just said. I think the minister made a comment that the illegality is not necessarily with licensing, but actions. So you could be licensed, but the way you are mining is illegal because it is destroying the environment. So if he says 99 point whatever percentage, it's not just because he's talking about those who are not licensed, but activities that are causing the damage. That's how I understood it.
Okay.
And I think that is fair. I think everybody has said that enforcement is one of the key issues here, and I think I tend to agree. What I am seeing, what we observe as well, is that the institutions that are, in quotes, mandated to regulate the industry, like the EPA, the MINCOM, they are institutions without teeth. So Tony's group does their bit, writes to law enforcement. The feedback they get leaves them hanging because they cannot go looking for names. Probably what to do is to mandate some institution, maybe the MINCOM or an amalgamation of institutions, to have total rights to deal with these matters, with some mandate to prosecute, using the law enforcement agencies that are linked to that. And I know that MINCOM, for example, have talked about the possibility of training a special police force to understand the Mining Act properly, so that they can fall on them to prosecute such actions. I think enforcement is at the bottom of what we are discussing here. I think I would like to end with that for now.
All right, thanks very much. And let's take a comment from the gentleman right at the back. Tell us your name and you make the point.
Yeah, I'm James Ajay, mining engineer. I worked for 20 years with the Minerals Commission. I was a monitoring and evaluation officer. In fact, we started the small-scale mining. We were the pioneers. That's my director there. Yeah, listening to what has transpired now and what we've heard in the news about galamsey, I think everything is to do with the economics of whatever is happening. In Ghana, we don't only have small-scale mining, we have large-scale miners. Newmont, Goldfields, and the rest. I don't think we have that. We may have some problems with them in terms of environmental protection and things like that, but I don't think it's gone that far. What is happening in small-scale mining, or galamsey, as the association man was saying, no, we don't get prospecting license. We are giving license to go and mine. To go and mine what? What are you going to mine? So you go there in desperation, just look everywhere. Don't give license when you have not defined a reserve. Don't do that. Because mining is a very expensive business. Large-scale miners waste a lot of resources just prospecting for years. And at the end of it all, what they come up with is a model, a three-dimensional model of the reserve. So before they go into mining, they know the extent of the ore body. They know the grade. They know everything. They know the composition in terms of chemical composition and everything. So they come up with the technology to process. They come up with the equipment they will need. Everything is worked out beforehand. If we don't want our people to go into rivers, to go into all kinds of things, then this is the way to go. You can't cut corners. So I think I'll end up here. You cannot do mining any other way but the way it's been set out over the years. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ajay. All right, what's your name?
I'm Amatibu, an independent researcher. I would like to continue from where our mining engineer left off.
Okay.
So after defining the reserves, this would go to the Minerals Commission. Before you even give out the license, the companies coming in should have a technical person on their, like in their company, is it a geologist or a mining engineer, you should make sure that you have one represented before the license would be given. And also, you should request for monthly updates on the license you've given them. They should give you not just any update, but geological reports, because you can't get gold anywhere. It's based on the formations, and our geology will tell us. So you should have a geological representative. If you have that, you won't have people mining anywhere. And every month, they should come and report to you. You have joint technical meetings. They come tell you, okay, we've done this work, we've done that work, and this is where we are. And if we would liken ourselves to even the oil industry, they have a procedure. They start with exploration, appraisal, development, then production. So we can also have that same thing in the mining industry. In the exploration side, you have to make sure that you acquire geophysical maps. Know where you've outlined, okay, I'm going to do it here. You present it to the Minerals Commission. They compare it to their maps. Be sure that, yes, you can mine over here. Then from there, you get another license to proceed to the next stage. We don't just give out the license, go mine, and they start. You start from somewhere. You get another license for appraisal. You get another license for development. Then finally, you can produce your oil or mine your gold. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So it seems people are given license and they pretty much go and mine in the dark. Let's take some thoughts from the gentleman right at the back.
Thank you very much. My name is Emmanuel Kwame Mensah. I work with the International Labour Organization. I think that this forum has been a very useful exercise, and I want to mention that the issues that are coming up are very critical, especially when it has to do with labor issues. I'm interested in the definition that was given for the illegality, that it's not too much about the license, but it's about the methods by which the operators do their work. And I think that that's very essential, because it means that if somebody has a license, he's open up to be regulated. He's open up to be monitored. So my suggestion is that if we increase the monitoring and the regulation, because they are licensed, they would have to do the things according to what the license prescribes. That means that for all those who are not licensed and they are operating, they are even outside the remit of the monitoring and the regulation. They can be dealt directly with prosecution issues. So the point I'm actually making is that the galamsey is creating the problems because the monitoring of the working conditions and the operations of those who are doing the work it needs to be improved. And as we know, the effects of galamsey is not only on the environment. The issue of the engagement of children is critical. So if we have people who are licensed and it happens that they are using child labor, which, I mean, as you know, it's an indictment of the future workforce of the country. Our encouragement is that more monitoring and regulation should be given to them. And like somebody mentioned, capacity building and consultations is important for this. And we at the ILO are very happy that this process is going on in Ghana, and we are looking forward to its very effective outcomes. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. We have another comment.
Yeah, good afternoon. Thanks for the forum. My name is Francis Tibu, an independent researcher. Well, I think a lot of suggestions have been given on the mining aspect. We also have to look at the people aspect, the people in those rural areas. We know galamsey, the one dimension of the galamsey problem is the poverty dimension. People who work in those pits, are working there because they want income. So we have to look for alternative income generating activities for them. Yes, some of them are not full-time galamseyers. Some of them work when gold is found in some pits. So they have like a normal job that they do. But those normal jobs don't earn enough for them to keep them at those jobs. So we have to come up with a sustainable income generating activity for those people in those areas so that they will stay at their regular jobs and not go to the mining pits when gold is found somewhere. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. The young lady up front.
Okay, thank you. My name is Eunice, a level 300 geography major student. I would want to pick up from where he left off. I think dealing with galamsey, we should look more at the people involved in the illegal mining. I don't think most of us will see the elite or the educated people practicing galamsey. Usually it's the illiterate and those who don't have much knowledge on it that do it. Because when we see the people practicing galamsey, I think they don't usually know the health implications of galamsey. Like Honorable Minister here was talking about the cyanide and the mercury. How many people know what mercury does to their health? How many people know what even cyanide is? All they know is we are just mining and making money out of it. But I think if we can sensitize them and bring them to their awareness of the health implication, that's also a step there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, we're going to take a couple more, and then we will get into a 5-point plan, and I want us to walk away from here knowing clearly that 3 years from now we can avoid having this conversation over again. I'm going back to Mr. Sekwe.
Well, I left this comment because the minister was out of his chair then. He did mention some 6 months when he was talking about sustenance of this activity. I think 6 months, 1 year, it's not sufficient. Occupy Ghana comes from a position whereby, and again, it goes in line with what the association guy is saying. I think we need to put a freeze on small-scale mining or illegal mining for quite a period of time, and have time for the commission and the ministry or whatever to really understand how we're going to stop this. Because otherwise, it's really going to be a 9-day wonder. The issue is this, that those with license are saying they are legal, but we are saying they are acting illegally. Not that they haven't got a license, but what are they doing illegally? How do you determine that within 6 months or 1 year? So I think the Occupy Ghana's position is put a complete freeze on this activity. Now, the second step is to prevent anybody from doing anything. Yes, there are investments involved, but the consequences of what they are doing today has more serious ramification than the money that they will make. So I think this before the MMIP will be implemented, there must be a complete freeze. And in that period, the engagement that our gentleman was talking about can't go on. Then when we are sure that we've covered all the bases, then allow them to come in. The young lady here made a comment about the fact that they don't prospect before they mine. That is a small-scale mine. So they go in there and do Labita law and find the gold. They end up with holes there. How can that be solved within a 6-month short period? That's not possible. So we must stop, put a prevention plan in place. Then when we have done that, we come to regulation. Now, the issue about alternative livelihood, that should happen, but that is the final stage when we start rehabilitation, because we have to do some rehabilitation. All these young guys can be employed. And believe me, the people who are digging the ground are not the problem. If I don't find money, hire an equipment, say I'm going to mine here, they wouldn't come for me to employ them. And how much do they get? Those who are suffering, they get peanuts. Believe me, I am very sure they get more money from the cocoa farms than they are getting digging the ground. Those who are making the money are sitting in Accra here. They are already working. They don't need alternative livelihood. So we need to be careful when we say that. When we think that the people causing the problem are the guys going to the pits and digging. They are not the ones. So the issue here is far more than illiterates doing what? Those guys, if I go into the farm area and I cultivate a huge cocoa farm and I want to give them whatever 10 cities a day, they would come and work when the galamsey is not there. So they know where to get alternative life. So long as that avenue is there for them, they would. So, Mr. Minister, I think this must be longer term. So the stop must be a stop. It must be a long freeze so that the association can then be part of the process of engagement. And I think, Mr. Minister, that will give you less stress.
Thank you very much, Mr. Quay. Let's bring in our representative from the Ghana Water Company. You've had to shut down a few, treatment plants. You're a lifeline to the nation. You provide water. This has had direct impact on your operations, and so you have to be part of the solution. What are your thoughts on, the points made so far, and what do you think we may need to add to ensure that we're not having this conversation again?
Yeah, thank you very much. You caught me off guard. Anyway, we have been talking about this thing for the past 10 years or so. We have used the forces to see whether we can clear them off the waters. Unfortunately, it hasn't worked. But the one that seemed to have worked was last year in August, thereabout, where we dialogued with the chiefs and opinion leaders within the Konongo area, because you had put out a new treatment plant, and even water to test the new treatment plant was difficult because the galamsees had blocked the course of the river. So we called all the chiefs in that area, the municipal and district chief executives and ministers involved, to a roundtable discussion at the municipal assembly in Konongo. So we told them the repercussions of their actions, and they asked us to give them time, 2 weeks or so, no, 2 months, to stop the people from mining in the waters. And after 2 months, it stopped. So for me, I think when we dialogue with the chiefs, it could have some positive repercussions. And I think after dialoguing with the chiefs, or if the chiefs, for instance, are involved, it will work, because they're the people who are giving out the area for the mining, and opinion leaders within the communities and all that. So for me, with all the solutions that have come up, let us also get the chiefs involved. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Stanley Mate. He is PRO of the Ghana Water Company. Okay, now, Mr. Amewu, I would like your response to Mr. Seth Quay's submission, but also importantly, because your ministry is the arrowhead in all of this, how can we ensure that 3 years from now we're not back here talking about illegal mining and its menace to our society?
Well, thank you. I think totally agree with the Occupy Ghana for a long haul. What we have done now, currently, there's a complete moratorium on issues of new licenses, for small-scale mining. And I'm happy enough to say that since I assumed office, I have never, signed any license. 6 months, it's short, as it totally, I totally agree. But it's open up for extension. It's going to depend on the collaborative efforts of what we are doing together. If we are able to achieve success, of course, within the 6 months, we may have to put in the necessary measures in terms of the MMIP. If we've not been able to act quickly enough, of course, there's going to be a long haul, as you suggested. So I totally agree with you. With regard to, stakeholder engagement and discussion, I think we started that. We've been doing that. The small-scale association, about 3 weeks ago, I met the whole association across this country. They were in my office, and I'm extremely happy that they themselves are totally against what is happening in this country, and they are into the boat together with us. So we will continue with the discussion. The stakeholder engagement is very important. We have had several of them, and we'll continue to engage until we achieve whatever we intend or describe as success. What happened within the next 3 years?
Allow me to interject momentarily. Mr. Jebler mentioned, and you've corroborated that you did meet the associations, but he said they've made a request for a copy of the MMIP, and also the fact that they were not consulted in the process of fashioning out a policy that affects their livelihoods.
Well, it's if you recollect, the first engagement that we had in this same Tony, you remember, when I assumed office, I think the following week, we invited all the stakeholders, and we met, I think, at the top. Very big stakeholder engagement. And it was the other block. And it was that engagement that brought out some of those ideas that we put together. Already, the Minerals Commission has something already, on its working table. So what we did was just to bring it, together. It's never too late. It's still open up to discussions. Brilliant ideas are still coming up here. So long as we leave, there must be changes to our attitude. So laws are not fixed. They are always flexible, depending, on a dynamic environment. So we can still incorporate a lot of things, into it. So we'll continue to engage, and we are ready for that engagement. 3 years, we may not come back here. 3 years, are we coming back here? Very good question. It depends on what we do. If we all agree that this is the way forward and this is what Ghanaians need to do, I don't think there will be a need to come back here and talk about, galamsey. We might talk about something which is more positive side of the galamsey. And that way out is the law enforcement. I mean, that is the only way out. Until the laws are well enforced and Ghanaians realize that there is do's and don'ts, of course, I mean, we're not going to move forward. So we need to change our attitude, and the laws must properly be enforced. That is what I think should be done. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I'm going to point to this comment from social media. It's sent by someone tweeting at FishDeco66. It says the laws are there, but enforcing them has become a problem. And it seems our politicians are sucking and destroying Mother Ghana. Now, the reason I read this is to ask the question about where there is evidence that people from within the political class are actively participating in galamsey. What do you suggest should be done?
That's a brilliant one. Of course, what should be done should not be different from what it should be done. What should be done is to enforce the law. I mean, it shouldn't be different. If you are a politician and you are giving a prospecting license and you are found doing mining, what did the law say? I mean, we have to enforce the law. And largely, I agree also with Tony when he comes out to say that we are not policing officers, to, arrest and do all those sort of things. But sometimes you need to go beyond. When we started is if the Ghanaian forces have supported, I will start burning down some of those excavators. I mean, there's nothing wrong. But I told them that the next 30 days, and they should get it clear. After the 30 days, we are visiting the site with mechanics. And we're going to start removing the pumps and the air filters. One of those pumps is about 1.2 billion. It's very expensive. So maybe I'm inviting you to join me, And if you remove that pump, we are not going to take the excavator. I'm just going to take those pumps out. Unfortunately, the last time I couldn't go with the mechanics. So this time we're going with mechanics. That's going to happen. I know by then the forces will be deployed, but we're going to go around now after the 30 days with mechanics to start taking out some of those air filters and the pumps. And we may probably sell it out and come and help the hospitals, And so these are some of the things we will do.
But there was, I had a chat with some folk who have been in the industry for a while, and they admit that it is a major problem on our hands. But there's a thinking that's contrary to the idea of blowing up or dismantling these equipment. And the proposal lies close to a combination of, one, regularizing these people, and also ensuring that the best practices that UMAT is teaching comes to play. So the mechanization, which is creating better yields, but on the flip side, destroying our environment, can be stemmed. So we're getting more yield, but they're practicing properly. What's your take on that? I think, Doc, did you want to make a comment on that? All right.
Thank you very much. I think that if you look at our laws, in fact, the qualification for doing small-scale mining is just age and citizenship. You must be above 18 years.
And a Ghanaian.
And you must be a Ghanaian, pure and simple. It doesn't define. That is what is in the law. So it doesn't define, and it doesn't define even the method of mining. Now, I think that the framers of the law at that time saw the type of small-scale mining going on. They thought,
the shovel.
Yes, they thought that this will never come to where it has been. So if you look at the production statistics, even as late as 2000, production from small-scale mining was just a dot. It was so insignificant. Now it went up as a result of the inclusion of these mechanized systems. And so to the extent that last year, they contributed close to 34% of gold production. You see where it has moved from almost 0 to 34. And so I agree that there has been some, in quotes, efficiencies with the use of some of these technologies. But what has it done to the environment? So that is the problem. So the guy using the digger will say, well, the law did not ban me from using a digger. You know, so some of the proposals that the minister spoke about might help address that. In fact, in my longest dream, I think that small-scale mining would have to completely go away. It must advance to medium scale. It is only in mining, it is only in Ghana that mining is not part of SMEs. We only have small scale and large scale. We don't have the medium scale. And we think that if we looked at it from progression point, then people should have progressed from small scale by this time to medium scale, if not large. And I must say that Ghana has been heavily explored. I'm sure that's why the galamseyers know where gold would probably be, and they will start mining. So that information tends to be available, and therefore people begin to behave in the way they do. So I think eventually we have seen that we need to regulate the method of mining. In the past, it was, you can do it once you have your license and you are above 18 years and you are Ghanaian, you come with a space, you can start mining. That's what it is. Now, with the method changing, we need to focus on, and that is where we have proposed, among other things, the use of, the regulation in that area. And the student researcher also indicated the process. I think that's what happens in the mining, the solid minerals. They go through the same, they have the same licenses, methods, and all that. Except that the small-scale mining.
I don't think she's a student researcher. She's an independent researcher.
Oh, forgive me. Okay. So some of us are still student researchers. We follow the same practices and all that. And in fact, in the proposals for the new proposal for small scale and medium scale, there's a requirement, and people have heard me say this many times, for a geologist and a mining engineer. And normally I say, even if the mining engineer is a national service mining engineer, he's better than a no engineer. If the geologist is a national service geologist, he's better than a no geologist. So we are requiring that. So that is part of the MMIP programs, the kind of changes that will take place. And let me say finally, the engagement. You know the problem, engagement is dynamic. It is not static. It's a continuous process. And the small-scale miners will agree with me. I agree with them on some point, but that this engagement have been ongoing. And sometimes somebody says, you have not engaged me because I wasn't part of the meeting. And then the next time, another one says, oh, you didn't engage me because I wasn't part of the meeting. I think all these, the tracking, the medium stage thing, small-scale miners have been part. Even before the MMIP consolidated all these ideas. And the first one, the major engagement was done here at the hotel. And it's a continuous process. In fact, you cannot end engagement. It's not static. It is something that keeps going. It's not an event. So we will continue to engage with you along with other stakeholders.
Thank you very much. Mr. Sando.
To add to some of the things that the minister has said, and Tony, we need to also look at these blocked out areas that will be explored and then given out to legalize small-scale mining. That as a country, we do strategic environmental assessment on them. I mean, we've been talking with the commission in the past that these areas need to be blocked out, a strategic environmental assessment done, and then we know. So that when the people are going, they just go and fit in, like what has been done with the free zones, enclaves, and all that. So I think that should also be looked at. The other aspect is we need to also look, the minister is talking about, okay, maybe removing the pumps and then leaving the... We are looking at the cost of rehabilitating these degraded areas. And some of them would need the use of this equipment. So another way of looking at it, to maybe get this equipment so that government can use that as for the rehabilitation, instead of just removing the pumps and then leaving them in the bush. We can
confiscate them and put them to good use.
Good use.
Apparently, you know, there's a thought that maybe, and Mr. Meu, you may want to consider this. Another proposal that's just on social media is that maybe when we confiscate these equipment, we can get the engineers regiment, because they build stuff and pretty good at doing it, and to do the reclamation. And that might bring down the overall cost of reclamation.
Well, I think that's good, but we should also recognize the fact that one of the major equipments that will be used in reclamation is not the excavators that we see there. The best equipment is to use the D6 and the D8s, which are the dozers. The dozers, okay. You might need some backhoes, of course, as a backfill. This is just to, send some signals to them. I mean, we can do one or two, and the regiment can come and pick the rest. So I agree. We may have to confiscate the equipment and maybe use it for a long-term benefit. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, let's take a comment right from the front here, and then we'll take a second one. Okay, I'll come to you all before. We have about 15 minutes to wrap up, so over to you, sir.
Thank you. Tokonu Samuel, a geoscientist. My issue is that it appears the minister alone is fighting the cause. We have other institutions. The environmental minister should have been here with him. We need a minister for interior and national security. We need a local government. We need a tourism minister should be here, because you go all around the communities. We have hotels and then casinos all over the place. We look at the customs and all of them. So they all take up the fight, and they don't leave it. I drove through Takwa, through Ayamfori to Kumasi, and I tell you, they are sitting there laughing at us, because all the dozers are parked by the roadside. The excavator, the machines are all there. They are just waiting for the minister to calm down. They are back in there. The minister for chieftaincy has a bigger role to play in this, because the chiefs play a bigger part of controlling this issue. I've been in exploration for 25 years, and we've solved most of these issues using the chiefs. The media has done wonderfully well. I would say that it's the media and the sector minister who are championing this, but the others are to also back up, support them, and get it. Water and sanitation is a key. You get the mineral right, you don't get the mineral right over the water. Okay? So the Minister for Water and Sanitation has to speak up. These are the issues I want to bring onto the table.
Thank you very much, Engineer. Thank you very much.
Let me just quickly correct one. In fact, the other sector ministers are highly involved in this. Maybe if you don't see them, coming out, but it's a collective, responsibility by this government. The president has set up, I mentioned earlier on, a 7-member, ministerial committee, to address issue. The rest will be going out. If they are not going out, it doesn't mean they are not working behind. But they are all working behind. I can even have here for you, for instance, the Minister for Security, Minerals Commissions, dredging intakes of treatment plants from the water, river restorations, training of miners, chieftaincy, as you rightly mentioned it. So they are all here. So all these 7, 8 ministers are here. Even the president himself is involved. And so I'm not the only one fighting this. The media are even working better than everybody is doing. So it's a collective responsibility of government. It is the president that have taken this on, and we are all supporting. All my other sector ministers are involved. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's hear from Nana Ano Amihia. He's the national president of the Ghana Institute of Safety and Environmental Professionals. Your organization is very, very concerned, and indeed we've had some conversations before today. Share with us your thoughts briefly and some of the proposals that you had in mind.
Yes, let me say hello to those who have gathered here. It's unfortunate I couldn't get here earlier, because in all of these discussions is the environment that we're talking about. And today, I have to go to a meeting to discuss the forthcoming UN Environmental Day Odosajifo Emotio for a penny. You know he's the capo di capo of the environment. So unfortunately I couldn't come early, but I have a lot of interesting contributions that I could have made because I wear two hats. As the national president of the Institute of Safety and Environmental Professionals, and also a traditional ruler. And in my area, we also are suffering from the menace of this galamsey. So the discussions have taken place, and I don't think we have enough time for me to take a bit of the time. But let me start. Stop me when you see people talk about this galamsey. Let me go back in memory lane. Before independence, as I sit here, if it wasn't for Kwame Nkrumah, who declared that all the gold and the timber on the land, he, by fiat, took them away from the traditional rulers and gave to the state, I would have been given all these concessions and timber rights and what have you, and I would have been a very rich man. But this have been centralized to government. And we who are on the land are only mere surface watchmen, if I should say that. Because the Minerals Commission issue licenses to small-scale miners, and we sit in our villages, and they come and say, oh, we've got this. They just wave a piece of paper in front of us, and they say they've got a license to come and mine gold. Whether it's under my palace or in a cemetery, they don't care. They just go ahead. But these days, because of the Chinese involvement, you as a chief or traditional ruler, if you go into the bush to try and get your people to stop these Chinese, if you're not careful, they will kill you in the bush. So these are how dangerous it has become. And my institute, Safety and Environmental Professionals, we had wanted to join the campaign that is being waged by the media. But, you know, these days, the media is more of tabloidism. They believe in sensational news. And then I thought, oh, why go and tag along with them? And it's only going to be a 9-day wonder. And
well, we've sustained it beyond 9 days.
I'm very impressed. That's why, after meeting with Ochehine, I came down here to make my contribution. But unfortunately, we don't have time.
Well, the conversation is ongoing. And beyond here, we will be, I'm sure the doors of the ministry is open, the Media Coalition on Galamsey doors are open. If you have ideas, come to us. Let's work on this together because it's one country and I don't know of any other Ghana anywhere. We all have a common responsibility to make it work. Nana, thank you very much. I'll take a final point from the gentleman up there and then we will prepare to wrap up as the midday news approaches.
Thank you very much. My name is Akomuz. I'm a media person. I'm happy you said there were security men where the security was involved. Because in all this conversation, I think that is lost on us. The miners have a lot of ammunition. Question one, how did they get into the country? Are we not creating another Delta force in this country? Because they just kill haphazard. Next to that, the research has shown that some terrorists are also interested in Ghana's gold. Because why? They can buy this gold in, you can spend a lot of money buying a small volume, travel it all across the region, and when you get there, in quote, you melt it, so to say, and then use it to buy all the ammunitions. So I'm surprised that we haven't really focused too much on what security threats we have in this. So I only end by saying that let's consider that as well, because the security angle is very, very delicate as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We're going to go around the table and take a minute each. Parting words. I'll start with you, Mr. John Peter Amewu.
Let's stop Galamsey. Let us stop it. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Ken Asigwe.
Thank you very much. Nana, the media is not all about sensationalism. It's not. If you do a good content analysis, that your position is not supported. Part of the media, yes, strives on that, but we're not. And we've demonstrated it. And for me, I think, Nana, your ilk, your chiefs, you are critical in this conversation. I don't think people should just sit aloof. You need to start talking to your colleagues, chiefs who are involved. For us, the media, all we are saying is that we are, one of the biggest tools we are going to use is name, shame, praise. Those we shame, we will push for jail term. It's one of the things we're going to do. Believe you me, if we get one politician, one chief, one big pastor, one big media man, and we put them on our front pages, and we have evidence to back that, and we push for jail term, it would happen. But this is a battle that is it's not for today, it's for tomorrow. So I urge all of us that we should all be involved, because this thing, it concerns all of us. And we need the support of the whole of Ghana. Currently, where we are going to go to, definitely we are going to have town hall meetings. So the small-scale miners, when we come to the town halls, we hope that we will meet you at those locations so that we can have all those engagements and we'll bring them up to the fore. And so we pray that all Ghanaians will be involved in this, and you support us to be able to do this for ourselves and not for anybody else. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And Dr. Orbin?
It's a very quick one. I think that this fight is a national fight, and there's no need for anyone sitting aloof. Now, again, let me take this opportunity to thank the media for their leadership, and in fact, the president of this republic, because as a country, sometimes we are blackmailed. Politicians get blackmailed. If you do this, 20-something is coming. If you do this, if you do the right thing, they tell you 20-something is coming. But the president has taken a bold step, and our minister has given the horsepower to this. I think this is the power of leadership. In fact, we haven't fired one single gun, but you can see the effect. It is just showing leadership, which the commission has been calling for. We have been writing. Me, in my own private professional practices, we've been doing all these things. So I think we must be very grateful and supportive of the current leadership that we see, because it's a big tool. Just by word of mouth, just by saying A, B, C, D, without the shot of a gun, look at the impact. So I think Ghanaians must all rally behind this. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. And Mr. Sando?
Yeah, thank you, the Media Coalition, and the action that is being done on this. I mean, at the point, the EPA, we felt that there was no need talking about this, because we've gone to all lengths and breadths, and nothing was being done. And so we felt like, why should we continue doing certain things that we report and no action is taken? And I think now what has happened is very good, and we know we'll get to the end where everything will be right. The other thing is to look at how we dredge the certain courses of the rivers to ensure that the flow of the water, and like Ken indicated, the turbidity has started dropping. And Thames was more polluted than any of our rivers, and now it's one of the best rivers used for cruising in London. And so, and our rivers are flowing, and so we'll get them restored, and we'll have good water, and the vegetation and everything will come back as we do the rehabilitation along the riverbanks. Thank you all.
All right. Well, thank you, gentlemen, and thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining the forum. And as we end, I'd like to say that there's a clear demonstration of a desire to end galamsey, but more importantly, to safeguard our environment. We also agree that gold is valuable. In fact, it does have a direct impact on our city's performance. So do we look at the challenge that we have as a challenge or as an opportunity? Indeed, it can be an opportunity if we fix the situation, regularize, and ensure that we're doing sustainable mining. It's been done in several places, right on this continent, and in South America, for example, in Colombia, they have a fair trade scheme for artisanal mining they call Oro Verde. The template is there, it's doable. As we leave here, these are some of the points that we've distilled so far, that we should look at security deployed soon across the ground beyond the 6-month period, and extend this to all these areas to ensure that the people who are armed are meeting people who are trained and also armed. And second, multilateral integrated mining project should be something that would go long-term, into about 5 years, and should include a wider stakeholder engagement that must also be ongoing. The third thing is that all the people who have been driven out of these places, they're there because they want to eat. So essentially, finding ways to either convert them into sustainable miners and regularize to practice mining, or we provide alternative means to earn some money for them. And the Minerals Commission also may want to look at creating a one-stop shop so that the processes that are required in giving the license are all done seamlessly and quickly. So there's one place to check for when someone, maybe there's a license somewhere that, you know, a step that's been missed, then you can correct that. And then the final thing is that just as is done in oil exploration, let us not skip the process.